everyone. My name is Daniela Schwartzman, Strategic Partnerships Manager at BayWa RE, and I am super excited to welcome everyone for today's webinar. We have two powerful, wonderful partners here with us who are taking the time to tell you all about the SolarEdge Nexis and Nexis IslandDER, and the title is The Power You Deserve. I am honored to have Cameron Stewart here and Kevin Cool. And Cameron is the principal product manager at SolarEdge. And Kevin is the regional sales manager for the Southwest. Thank you both for taking the time today to be here.
Thank you for having me. I'm like super happy to be here and very excited to talk about SolarEdge Nexis. What about you, Kevin? How you feeling?
Feeling great. I'm very excited as well to talk about Nexus and the solution of Nexus IslandDER and how that can really streamline installer operations and benefit the market. And thank
Uh,
you, Daniela,
Excellent.
for having us here.
yeah, thank you, BayWa, so much for not only stocking. I mean, you're stocking Nexus right now, so you could call BayWa and go get some products right now. And thanks for having us. I really appreciate that, Daniela. Are we
Thank
ready to
you.
get things like started and rocking and rolling?
Let me just do a little bit of housekeeping before we jump in. So while everyone is logging on, just make sure that you see the Q&A button. That is your best way to communicate with us. So that's your way how you can ask us questions so we can have a good interactive discussion. Also share your comments or any additional info that you would like us to talk about. So Q&A. The chat is also available for any kind of resources that we share with you. So right now you should be able to see a couple of links how you can get in touch with BayWa, and along the way there will be also information with SolarEdge. They are having a great roadshow come up where you can register. So all that type of information you'll find in the chat. Yeah, but before we jump in, let me just share with you a few things about BayWa RE in case you are not yet working with us. So partnering with BayWa would give you access to tools and guidance and the reliability to grow faster and stronger. And how this can be accomplished, you can see here on this slide. So you can stay ahead of your demand with accurate forecasting and a dedicated account manager that's available for you. Easy, fast purchasing. That's possible through our web store. So you can streamline your operations and procurement with a state-of-the-art, user-friendly web store with real-time pricing and immediate ordering. So there's no friction and no delays. You can also tap into expert planning and precise inventory forecasting to keep your commercial jobs running. So we have an entire expert team available to you that will help you to keep your commercial jobs running all the way from design to delivery. Pricing, that's a big one. You can rely on stable pricing across all our US warehouses. There's no surprise anywhere and no hidden fees. And you can access the products that you need quickly, thanks to our strategically located warehouses across the country. And lastly, you can also have your products delivered straight to your job site or construction site, which will help you to save time and skip a couple of extra steps. So if you are not yet doing business with us, please reach out. A representative will be in touch with you and explore how we can help you grow your business. So without further ado, Cam, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen so we're all looking at the SolarEdge presentation. And again, thank you, BayWa, for having us here. I'm very excited to really show everyone on the call and talk about what SolarEdge Nexus is and how we grow energy together. As you can see, we're in Green Builder for the Sustainable Product of the Year. We've been recognized by Forbes just for innovative technology and shaping the future of home energy. And those are accolades that I do not take lightly because I have been developing Nexus for roughly 2 years or 3 years of my life. So it's all come together and everything is looking great, and the product is now launched and available. So let's go ahead. Let's just kind of describe every component in the system, what it does, and how it kind of pieces together, and then we'll get into a little more further details as we move forward. So first, SolarEdge Nexis is very few part numbers, very few SKUs. And the Nexis inverter is what we're going to kick ourselves off with, because the Nexis inverter can be installed as a PV only inverter, just like you install Home Hub today or the SolarEdge Home Wave. I guess we don't make the Home Wave anymore, but if you were installing PV inverters only with SolarEdge today, great. The Nexus is the next evolution of that. Then, if you want to attach storage to the Nexus inverter, it's very easy. You can do it one of two ways. In the picture shown here, we can click the SolarEdge Nexus inverter on top of the SolarEdge Nexus battery link, or you can install a stack of batteries to the battery link and then wire that to the Nexus inverter and have those two pieces separate. So let's talk about the Nexus battery system and what makes it so amazing. It's a modular approach to energy storage. Each Nexus battery block is 5 kilowatt hours with a continuous charge and discharge of 3.5 kilowatts. So every time we add a battery block in the system, that means we're adding 5 kilowatt hours and we're adding 3.5 kilowatts of charge and discharge. We can stack up to 4 battery blocks per Nexus link. So that means you can have 20 kilowatt hours in a single stack, and then we can attach 4 Nexus links to a single inverter. And so that will yield 80 kilowatt hours of energy storage per inverter. So that is a lot of flexibility to really get to the right battery size for your system homeowner. Sometimes it's starting off with a very small battery, just one single battery block to let the homeowner experience what a backup event looks like to protect some of their smaller loads. And then once they get that single 5 kilowatt hour battery block, as most homeowners do, we're like, man, this is awesome. I want maybe more things on backup because I didn't like not having my basement backed up or whatever the case may be. And then it's easy to add batteries to the Nexus stack. Lastly, when we're talking about backup, you need the SolarEdge Nexis Islander. So the Islander is what we partnered with ConnectDER on. And the Islander is our microgrid interconnection device. And the SolarEdge Nexis Islander is a little bit different than the ConnectDER Islander, just because of that little piece on top that says SolarEdge. Now, Kevin's with me on this call, right? And Kevin's from ConnectDER. So I was hoping, Kevin, did you want to say anything real quick about ConnectDER or the Nexus Islander?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Cameron. Here at Connector, meter socket adapters have really been our bread and butter for the existence of our organization. So for the past 15 years, we've been manufacturing MSAs, a different form. And this is the next generation and frankly the flagship product for Connector, that being the Nexus Islander. And as you already mentioned, Cameron, this SKU does differ a little bit from the connector Islander. This is SKU V-1-D-SE, and that D is just for digital, and then SE, of course, being SolarEdge. So Nexus Islander is exclusive to SolarEdge. Unlike the connector Islander, there's no separate piece of that Nexus needs to be plugged into. This is not an analog solution. SolarEdge has, innovated for this product to place the digital communications chip in the connection module, as you stated. So, really pairing well with Nexus for that, the flexibility and seamlessness of one product ecosystem, less parts on the wall, and a robust solution designed to provide whole home and partial backup through the homeowner's utility on meter socket.
That's right. And just like on that comment about like fewer parts, that's what Nexus is really designed around. So we have the inverter, we have the link, we have a battery block. There's no difference between any battery block. They can be top, bottom, middle, wherever in the stack. And we have the Nexus IslandER. And that brings us to one accessory, which is the Nexus wall mount bracket. So the Nexus is intended to be a floor mounted battery that is wall attached. But you can also wall mount this bracket, which brings me to my first poll question. How often will you install Nexus on the wall rather than on the floor? So choose your options, and I'm going to allow a couple seconds or maybe even a minute for you guys to tell me how often you're going to install Nexus on the wall. It could be every time, like I am all in on this wall bracket, concrete slabs are for suckers, or is it never? Like, yeah, wall floor mounted wall attached, I don't have to do any extra work. That is the best approach.
Well,
Oh
thank
man.
you, Cameron. Yeah, you're doing great. Everybody, let's get some more votes in here. We want to know what is your jam. So wall mounted, floor mounted, and feel free to also put in any comments in the Q&A to give a little bit more background.
Man, those numbers
Okay.
are pretty interesting to me. So, kind of a mixed bag right now between not very often and often, which to me is like middle of the road. Sometimes I'm going to use the wall bracket, sometimes I'm not going to use the wall bracket. I would have expected maybe, actually, no, that is actually what I would have expected. Kind of like, yeah, I'm going to use the wall mount bracket when it makes sense. Maybe I'm
Exactly.
yeah, outside and over the customer's rose garden, and they don't want to rip out the rose garden to put a concrete pad, justifiably so. So you're going to put this thing on the wall and not have to take the extra work for your concrete pad. Do you think we should wait any longer for the poll? I think the numbers have stopped
No,
climbing.
yes, stop claiming, be close to poll. Let us know in the Q&A whether we are correct with those assumptions. It's very specific use case, it looks like. So thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
participating.
thank you. All right. So, what was Nexus founded on? We really decided three core principles for Nexus on how to develop this product. One was flexibility, really tailoring the modular approach to suit every home because we're not manufacturing products just for the US or just for one home. We're manufacturing products for the entire US and around the world. And so we wanted to be able to have a flexible solution that could be installed anywhere. On top of that, we wanted something that was powerful and robust and durable just because we want to make sure that it can power our biggest loads and that it's going to last a long time. It's crazy to me still. Like I've been in the solar industry for 22 years, and it's still crazy to me that when we talk about system lifespan, we talk about on the scale of 20, 25 years. That is a long time. And any other electronics manufacturing is looking at maybe a year, maybe at the highest end, 5 years. And solar, no, we're like in the most extreme heat and the most extreme cold for the longest time with sun beating down on everything. So again, durability was a key factor into developing this product. Let's take a
Cameron,
look. Yeah,
could I just jump in here real quick before we move
sure.
on? There's a question kind of like around customer segmentation, if you will. So is this for residential solar project single phase 120 volts? That's a question.
That's a great question. So the Nexus is rated at 240 volts AC. So yeah, single phase 12240. And then we also can do 208 single phase. So that's not to say that you can't stack three of them for small commercial and use a loss of phase relay to make sure that you're doing loss of phase detection. So that is a capability. But in general, it's designed for residential homes. You can use it in multifamily dwellings at 208. You can use it in condos, 208 single phase. For backup, for connector, we are doing 240 volts backup, and we are not supporting 208-volt backup. And the biggest reason for that is because when you look at a split phase system, your sine wave is 180 degrees outside of each other. And when you look at a three-phase system, your sine waves for each phase are 60 degrees away from each other, and it's a little hard to sync that up. So I digress. In general, residential or light commercial.
Follow-up question. Do you have a three-phase 480 volt?
We do have a three-phase solution that we've partnered with Sucamec. That's for your large three-phase utility, large commercial systems. For rest of world, in like Europe and everywhere else, we do have Nexis offered as a native three-phase solution at lower power classifications.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So when we think about flexibility, I wanted to make sure that everyone knows what a single SKU inverter is. Kevin, or actually maybe Daniela, you can tell me, what does SKU mean?
It's like like the part number, the SKU. It's I don't even know what this
Yeah,
SKU stands.
Stock
yeah.
unit.
Stock keeping unit. Very well done. Yes,
There you
part
go. I
number.
should know that. I never think about that. Thank you.
It's the part number. You're both correct. Points for both of you. So for a SKU, single SKU inverters, what we've decided to do is already with the Home Hub platform, we decided we're making one inverter for the United States. And you, the installer, can select the power class of that inverter at the time of commissioning. Before, we used to make the same inverter for the United States and then put a sticker on it. And that sticker just dictated the power class for the inverter. So we've kind of changed how we do things so that way installers can program the inverter as they need. Our distribution partners like BayWa don't have to worry about shelving a whole bunch of 5 kilowatts or 10 kilowatts or 11.4 kilowatt inverters. It's all one part number, really streamlining the process for everyone involved, for manufacturing, for supply chain, for logistics, everything. So single SKU really helps us make sure that not only are we manufacturing one product and we're utilizing the best of everything we can for that one product, but when you get out to the site, you always know that you have the right product in hand. You never have to worry about showing up to site with, oh man, I accidentally brought the 10 kilowatt instead of the 11.4. You don't have to worry about that anymore. So single SKU really streamlines everything. For more flexibility, we wanted to talk about adding battery blocks. So there's a battery, I have a slide on it, battery optimizer, DC to DC boost stage that allows us to add multiple batteries in the stack. They can be located in the same stack. They could have, again, up to 4 links. And so I get a lot of questions about, well, when I make multiple stacks, do I have to balance the battery blocks? Does it have to be the same number on both sides? And the answer to that question is no. So this is a good example. We see 6 battery blocks here. In theory, you could have also done a stack of 4 and a stack of 2. That is totally allowed. I like the aesthetic look of an even stack, 2 even stacks personally, but you could do a 4 and a 2, maybe mount that 2 higher on the wall if there's a workbench or something in front of that. That is a possibility. So you can tailor it to fit any location. You can install it anywhere, inside, outside, floor mounted, wall mounted, and it's very easy to do. And we're going to talk a little bit more about uh, the cost of main panel upgrades when we get to some connector slides. And we're going to talk about how the meter socket adapter or the Nexis IslandDER can really help avoid those main panel upgrades. But first, I want to ask another poll question.
Let me
So,
jump in here real quick before
go for it.
we go to the poll question. There's a question from the audience. Does that mean that the Home Hub inverter will be fully phased out and just go to the Nexus version?
That's also another great question. So eventually, Yes. But for right now, we're manufacturing both products simultaneously. There's a lot of key features in the home hub inverter that you can do with a home hub system that you can't do with a Nexus system. But eventually, yeah, just like your old iPhone 6 got phased out how 6 years ago, your we will phase out eventually the home hub inverter. That's kind of how technology works. Out with the old and in with the new. But that's not to say that it's not backwards compatible. So any of your old power optimizers that you have on the roof, anything from the P series, the S series, or the U series are compatible with the SolarEdge Nexis inverter. So if you did need to swap out a existing home hub and put in a Nexus, it will work with the optimizers that are already on the site. And we also have the possibility of AC coupling. So if you want to leave your home hub inverter where it is and you want to AC couple the Nexus system to it, you can do that. So the flexibility really comes into the SolarEdge Nexus is AC coupled and DC coupled. It can do both, one or the other, or both simultaneously. Did that answer that question? I'm fairly confident it
I
did.
believe so.
All right. So, next poll question, actually perfectly on time. So, that was a great segue question
Yeah,
is
wonderful.
what percentage of your current projects are you AC coupling a battery to existing PV systems? So, how often it could be any battery, could be a Franklin, a Tesla, an Enphase, or whatever, could be any battery. How often are you AC coupling? Is it 0 to 10%, 10 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, or more than 75? All right, we get some of these results coming in, and this one is actually a little more surprising to me. I would have expected for AC coupling to existing systems, you're doing it a lot more because you don't want to touch the existing system. It might be from a different installer or tied up in some type of lease or PPA or something like that, and so you can't touch that existing system, so you do an AC couple. But I'm really surprised to see that there's a lot of people that are saying 0 to 10% or 10 to 25%, not that often.
Yeah. Everybody, please cast your vote.
All right. Maybe one or two more before we close the poll.
Looks like we can close it.
Okay. So the interesting results there were 10 to 25%. So on your existing systems, your AC coupling, I'm gonna call it 15% of the time, 17% of the time. Very interesting results. I would have expected it to be higher. So maybe those of us out there know that DC coupling solves a lot of problems. It's much more efficient, and you're using a lot more energy, which is why people are AC coupling. Kevin, any thoughts about that? Like why AC coupling or DC coupling?
Nexus Islander certainly works with both. I mean, I think there's, with different utilities around the country starting to change their policies as far as net metering. There's a lot of homeowners out there that already maybe have PV, but because of the rate structures changing, it's nice to have backup for security, but also for making sure that the economics of the solar system overall are what the homeowner needs
Yeah,
for their area.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
And there is also someone in the audience says that perhaps the most current projects are for homeowners who do not already have solar. So that could also be a reason for the response.
That's a excellent point. Absolutely right. So for new projects, I will always tell you, new projects should always be DC coupled. And sure, my opinion may be biased, but there's a lot of good reasons for DC coupling. And it's only those older projects that I would really say, yeah, if they have existing solar, there's a lot of good reasons to AC couple. So let me get into one of the things that makes Nexus a little bit more special than other modular battery types. And it starts with a trademarked term, simple click technology. So simple click technology basically is just a quick connector between the Nexus battery blocks, the Nexus Link, and the Nexus inverter that completes all of our DC wiring and our communication wiring and our mechanical attachment. So just the act of stacking one piece on top of the next and listening for these two little mechanical plungers to click into place when you stack those two pieces together saves the installer a lot of heartache and headache during the installation process. This means your most junior associate or your most seasoned veteran master electrician can have the same success rate when installing a Nexus system. So quickly stack battery blocks with no additional wiring, no extra tools, easily securing the battery to the wall. And again, it scales from 5 kilowatt hours all the way up to 80 kilowatt hours. So you can go side by side with your stacks, you can go front to back with your stacks, and again, you're DC coupled or AC coupled. So simple click technology really just means I'm increasing my efficiency on the job site and I can install a battery system in about 15 to 20 minutes. I think I've got a video on YouTube that you can check out where we do a full install. And I think it took us like 20 minutes ish. But anyway, simple click technology saves us a lot of time and money, which really, if we think about it, time is money. How do
Yeah,
we
can
get?
I
Go
yeah,
ahead.
let's do another question because as you're talking about all the benefits, there's also some question about the features. What can the Nexus handle? So this attendee said, just sold an 8 battery system to a residential customer. A couple questions. The customer insists on inside garage installation because of the heat in Las Vegas. What temperatures can the Nexus handle? And what are some of the warranty voiders?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So the Nexus temperature range is -4 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 131 degrees Fahrenheit. And as the Nexus system starts to heat up, after 40 degrees Celsius, we will start power curtailing. And that means reducing the amount of power so we can effectively reduce the amount of heat. So that's how we do that. And I'm assuming when you said 8 battery system, you must mean 8 battery blocks. So that would be 40 kilowatt hours. Man, that's a rad system, and I want to see pictures of it when you're done. So make sure you send them to me because I love seeing big systems like that. Um, what else can it do? Oh, sorry. There's no cycle life on the warranty, so you don't have to worry about cycle life on the warranty, and it's rated to be operating at 131 or up to 131 degrees Fahrenheit. After that, we just turn off the inverter to keep everything safe. So you don't have to worry about voiding a warranty because it got hotter than normal.
And a word about inside versus outside installation.
Yeah, it's still totally allowed. You can do inside, you can do outside. The volumetric air requirements for a Nexus system is 63 cubic feet. So that's a very small space. You can fit a lot of batteries into into a very small space. So airflow is not a big deal. What the Link is doing, and the reason why we have such small volumetric requirements and also such high heat temperature tolerances is the Nexus Link has 3 fans in it that are pulling air up the back of the battery blocks and exhausting them out the side ports. What this really means is when we have 3 fans, they're variable speed fans, and we're operating them at 33%. So we built in a lot of redundancy. So if one fan fails, we send an alert to the installer, to the homeowner. They know that a fan has failed, and 2 fans still operate at 50% each. And then if a third fan were to ever fail, then now you have one fan covering the whole system at 100%, allowing the installer some time to get out there and to replace the fan if they need to. We don't expect that to happen, but we have that capability with that in mind. Serviceability was a big uh, key detail for me, and we can talk about serviceability a little bit later. Speaking of the wide temperature range, I really wanted to get into uh, high power and what the high power backup system really needs. So with the Nexus system, we can cover 185 amps of LRA. Kevin, do you know what LRA is?
As far as what it stands for, I can't say that I do.
Man, I'm sorry.
I, but as far as, yeah, the practical uh, meaning of it, it's the amount of loads that can kind of be kickstarted at once, right? Like a, big 2-ton HVAC by the energy storage system.
That's right. It's a LRA stands for lock rotor amps. And you're absolutely right. It's the ability to electrically start a large load. And the analogy I always like to use is pushing a car. I've driven some not so great cars in my days, and I've had to maybe push my car out of the road. And if you've ever tried to push a car, the initial force that it takes to get the car moving is a lot more than once the car is moving, then it's much easier to push. And that's what LRA is. It's just the electric ability to really push the system to start it. And then once it starts, it's much, much easier and you don't have to use as much amperage. So with the Nexis inverter, we can do 68 amps of LRA with a single battery block. We can do 127 amps of LRA with two battery blocks. But once you get to that third battery block, now we can really do 185 amps of LRA. And so the way I try to build it is, okay, one or two battery blocks is for partial home backup, which we can do with the Islander. And again, we'll talk about that and how to do that a little bit later. So one or two battery blocks is partial home backup. Really, when you get to three battery blocks, that's full home backup. I can power sump pumps, well pumps, 5-ton air conditioners with 185 amps of LRA. And then anything beyond three battery blocks really is more power, more capacity. And then past four battery blocks is just capacity. And that is basically saying, I want to survive long-term outages. I want to have more energy in the gas tank just in case I need it. Or maybe you're doing it for virtual power plants or other reasons. But anyway, I digress. With the Nexis Islander, we can isolate from the grid, provide a lot of backup power. Now, when the inverter, the Nexis inverter is in backup, it operates at 14.5 kilowatts. So we talked about single SKU and programming the on-grid power class, anywhere from 3.8 all the way up to 13 kilowatts. But when it's in backup, you can produce 14.5 kilowatts. So if you programmed your inverter as a 3 kilowatt inverter or 3.8 kilowatt inverter, it can still do 14.5 kilowatts in backup. And that's another programmable set point that installers can change if they need to, if they don't want to plan an 80 amp backup system.
I
Which
have a
brings,
bunch more questions. I
yeah,
know I
no,
keep
that's great.
interrupting you. There's great interaction from our attendees. So there's one question that was about any concerns regarding future expansion, and what that means is like in terms of battery capacity. So if a customer in the future wants to add additional batteries, for example, install only one 5 kilowatt battery, and then in the future maybe it's in the future, next 2 years, want to install additional 5 kilowatt batteries. Are there any concerns around this?
No,
Anything you see there?
yeah, the Nexus system was designed with that in mind. And there's two things to consider that I'll tell you. Is one, if you put it in the stack, totally perfectly okay. But when we modify the stack of the Nexus system, you may have to consider, oh, am I changing my conduit entries just a little bit? Did I plan accordingly for these conduits? Do I have to move them up or move them down or however that may look? So what I find is when you're adding an additional battery to a Nexus system, it often makes sense instead of putting it in the stack to locate it next to the stack and just do another like two or three batteries next to the stack. So that way we can connect our two links together, and then the two links together just basically add another battery. That is the easiest way of doing it. So you don't have to change any of your conduits or AC wiring on the inverter. You can leave that all there. And all you do is add another stack of batteries at the link and then wire one link to the first link. So,
And then the other question was about, and I think that's what's on the slide. Can you describe the components that would be required for homeowners to have whole home backup power? I'm thinking of a typical California home with 200 amps service, a couple of 40 amps, 50 amps, and 60 amps breakers.
Yeah. So if you want a whole home backup, what I'll say is Nexus inverter, Nexus Link, three Nexus battery blocks, a Nexus Islander, and that would be on a 80 amp breaker if you're allowing 14.5 kilowatts of backup. And then your solar and optimizers and conduit and wires. But yeah. So not
Thank you
like
so much.
really five parts. It's not that much.
That hurts. And then once the last question here, maybe at this point, once the Nexus is available, is there a reason to sell the Home Hub anymore?
Nexus is available. So step one, yes, you can buy Nexus now. Uh, Number two is there a reason to buy Home Hub? And the answer is yeah, there's actually a lot of reasons to buy Home Hub. Number one, if you want a lot of full feature set generator support, uh, Home Hub does that. So we can automatically start and stop generators. I'm sure there's going to be a question about generators later today, now that I bring it up. And we can manually turn on and off generators with the Home Hub system. Those are feature sets that we haven't implemented into Nexus yet. So there's a lot of good reasons to buy Home Hub today.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. You're very welcome. All right, which actually oops, wrong way. This is a good segue into our next poll question. We were talking about the number of battery blocks that you think will be installed on an average system. So we talked about the typical California home, whole home system for what do you need? And I said three battery blocks. So how many Nexus battery blocks do you expect to put on your average Nexus installation? Are we doing zero because we're PV only, one or two because we're partial home backup, primarily three or four for full home backup, or five or more? I deal with custom large homes and I want my customers to live the life that they like to live, which is like as much capacity as possible.
All right, everyone, please cast your vote. We would like to know how many Nexus battery blocks do you expect to put on your average installation?
It is pretty interesting to me, Daniela, to see that no one's doing PV only. And it really shows a shift in the market landscape, the paradigm shift that we've been talking about for 3 years, how batteries are going to be attached to every single system we install. And it's very interesting to see that in the poll.
Yeah, and really the full home backup.
Yeah.
That's like what the most the motive is.
Homeowners are thinking about it. I just read a scientific article earlier today that we're hitting record temperatures on in the sea, in the air. It's pretty crazy out there these days, and we expect those effects to impact everybody. All right, so we're closing the poll, and it looks like three or four seems to be the standout winner by far. So three or four battery blocks is going to go on your average installation, and I personally like to see that. Thank you so much. So Kevin, why don't you run us through what a meter socket adapter is and what makes ConnectDER and the SolarEdge Nexis Islander a match made in heaven?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned, the form factor, if you will, of a meter socket adapter is something that ConnectDER has been manufacturing for, the past 15 years. There was a product mostly available on the East Coast for actually landing your solar PV system inside of a collar. So Islander is not that. Islander is a microgrid interconnection device, or MID, providing both whole home or partial home backup. So ideally, this is going to get installed behind the customer's main meter in the main utility socket. That, of course, is going to be the preferred method of installation when the utility that you're installing a Nexus system on has approved Islander for behind the meter installation. There is a secondary option for utilities that hadn't yet approved Islander, or in some cases, any meter socket adapters, and that's plugging Islander into a secondary meter can that you can install and then splicing that into the main service. But we and you were, kind of talking, Cameron, about the thermal management of Nexis. This is something that we're really proud of here at ConnectDER with Islander, is the thermal management of this device. There's a lot of heat going through these meter sockets. It's one of the more difficult attributes of this type of product from an engineering standpoint. So we have, and you can kind of see it in this photo here, it's this gray side panel on Islander. We sometimes refer to as the gills of the device. This is a passive thermal management system. So this is a ceramic heat sink. There are no fans, which we found was really an important feature for Nexis Islander, seeing as though we are landed, right into the utility-owned meter socket, and there's a lot of heat coming through there. So, as we mentioned before, there is no secondary or auxiliary box that Nexis Islander needs to be plugged into. There's an RJ45 port for Ethernet that can go directly into the Nexis inverter. So, really this device, I would say, especially for the meter main combination panels, which are extremely prevalent in California, Arizona, Colorado, and some other Western states. This is just a slam dunk. This prevents you from having to relocate all of the backup loads to a critical load center, giving you that full home backup. Partial home is possible as well if the homeowner doesn't have a demand for whole home backup or the electrical situation on site dictates as such. And that's where that secondary meter can comes into play.
That's absolutely right. And I think one of the things that I definitely want to highlight and say again are two things. First, the ceramic heatsink is incredible. And because there's no fans or no moving parts inside the Islander, again, it really suits to the more robustness of the product, right? The test that you have to pass to be able to do that from an engineering standpoint is what we call the heat rise test. And you're basically passing 200 amps through this thing that's the size of a grapefruit. And it's really hard. It's really hard to pass this test. So there's a lot of ways that people get around it is they, one, increase the size of the enclosure, or two, they add fans. And so that really innovative ceramic heatsink is impressive. The second thing I wanted to touch on was absolutely the digital communication adapter. That is the little piece on top that says SolarEdge on it. And it just means when you're doing an installation with the Nexis Islander, you're running a Cat5 cable from the Islander directly to the inverter. So it's with an RJ45 jack. So you can buy pre-manufactured cables. It's very easy to install this in a multitude of applications because you can have the cable coming out of the left side or the right side. I call it ambidextrous. But anyway, just that smooth, simple installation. And then I'm going to throw a third thing on here is no circuit relocation. If you're installing this behind the utility meter, then you don't have to make a backup panel. You don't have to do any of that difficult wiring, all that time moving loads over to a backup panel, pulling, 3-aught cables from your existing main service panel to your new backup panel. You don't have to do any of that. That's so much easier to install the meter socket adapter behind the utility billing meter. But one of the pictures that we see on the slide here shows just what you said, Kevin, which was you can install the Islander not behind the utility billing meter. You can put this in a separate meter socket. And in this picture, you can see that it's kind of like a smart panel. We have a Nexus connected to this main service entrance that has a meter socket adapter in it, a Nexis Islander with a jumper plate, then this whole thing feeds the existing main distribution panel inside. So minimal time, minimal effort, no circuit relocation, and super easy to install because now you don't have to call the utility to tell them to install the meter socket adapter or to turn off the power if there was already a 200 amp disconnect switch. You don't have to involve the utility at all. So that is a great way to get around those requirements. And then I think to that extent, go ahead.
Yeah, Cameron, I'm having a lot of questions come in, which I'd like to have answered for our audience, if that's okay. A lot of the
Please.
questions are around the approval process. So, first question, where can an updated list of utilities that approve the Islander, where can that be found? So
That
that came up a couple of times. And
that's a
then,
great
um,
question.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
great.
then
Right
I'm
here.
going to connect another one on this one. And that's specifically speaking about the approval process for PG&E, whether this is true that there's some pilot program, and how do we go about it if there is that pilot program. So if we could package these two together. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Kevin, do you want to answer the questions? I think it's
Yeah, happy to do that. So, and of course, Cameron has it projected here on the screen. This is a list of the utilities where Nexis Islander is currently approved for behind the meter install. I will go ahead and drop here in the chat a link to ConnectDER's website. This is specifically, and I was looking at Colorado. All right, so there's the link that we would want, that second one. This is a dynamic list. So our market opening team, a big part of what ConnectDER does, of course, is working with the different utilities all across the country, seeking these approvals, helping support legislative efforts from different states that support the advancement of meter callers in general. So that team is always hard at work, working on the different utilities. This list and the link that I just put here in the chat is dynamic, so we're updating that anytime there's movement or new approvals. You'll also see on that list expected dates for approval for behind the meter installation. As far as PG&E goes, that program does exist. So Islander is approved by PG&E for so far this year. PG&E has had what they call designated installers doing the install. There's a really easy process to become a designated installer. I would request that you reach out to me directly if that's something that you're interested in. I could put my email address here in the chat.
That's great. And then maybe one more question on the system in itself. I believe that the present spec for the Nexis Islander configured system to switch over due to a power outage is about 2 seconds. Are there plans to make this quicker to where a homeowner doesn't have to worry about computers rebooting and any other impacts?
So I'm glad that came up. So it's actually been reduced significantly. So less than 15 milliseconds is the time that it's going to take once the CTs in our device sense that grid outage for Islander for the relay to open and to shift to power in the home through the Nexus energy storage system. Yeah, so 15
Excellent.
milliseconds, no interruption to any of the loads that are connected to the Nexus system.
yeah,
Thank you
it's
for
a
clarifying that. Oh, go ahead,
yeah,
Cameron.
no. I was just going to add, it's kind of a double-edged sword when you do we call that rapid transition or fast transition. Because when you are keeping your battery system alive and waiting for that 15 millisecond response, it has to immediately start powering the home within that 15 milliseconds. So your batteries are always on and active. And when you're in a backup only system, you're going to see a lot of parasitic discharge on your batteries just for that feature set. So I generally recommend if there's critical components in your home that you need to keep alive, just throw a small UPS on those components. There's not generally a lot of them. And that 2 second transition time saves the life of your battery and makes your battery system more efficient to keep your lights on longer, to sell more energy back to the utility company, whatever it may be. So there's benefits of I can see why we want uninterrupted, power. Like I don't like resetting the clocks of my microwave and my oven every time my power goes out, but it is a visual clue to me that my power went out. I need to conserve energy. And then also, I know my system's going to last much longer just because I don't have to worry about that parasitic discharge. But to each their own, I suppose.
And then I have another question for the both of you, and maybe we can keep it brief in the interest of time. Do we have an expected lifespan of the different components of the Nexus system, including the battery?
Yeah, I think we are putting a 10-year warranty uh, on the Nexus system. And then the optimizers are warranted for 25 years, or yeah, 25 years for residential.
And Islander is 12.5, but expected life, is especially because of that heat sink, um, 20 to 25 years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is actually a great time to talk about our next poll question, which is what percentage of your projects include a meter collar? Now, I'm just saying, like the Nexus Islander is new, so obviously it's probably not a Nexus Islander, but in general, there's a lot of meter collars, meter socket adapters out there. What percentage of your projects are using meter socket adapters today? Oh, I use none of them because I'm SolarEdge and I like backup interface, or I'm putting it on almost every single job because I realized the main panel or the savings to avoid that cost of main panel upgrades or circuit relocation is super beneficial, or maybe somewhere in between. Maybe some of them you do, some of you don't, because you do partial home backup or full home backup.
And probably there's a regional component here too.
Yeah, very, very intuitive. Yeah, absolutely right, Danielle. There's probably a regional component. Maybe it's not allowed in your region. Or
It looks
yeah,
like a strong dominance here for 0 to 10%. Do we have some more votes? Please
man,
share with us.
that's super interesting to me. 0 to 10%. And if you could drop in the chat like 0%, like maybe why? Oh, because I don't install battery systems, or 0% because I don't like meter collars, or 0% because my utilities don't allow them.
Mhm.
That'd be very interesting information to me. So make sure you put that in chat, please. Thank you.
Yes, please. Let's see. Utilities will not allow
Yeah,
Wisconsin.
interesting. So, just to that extent, I know ConnectDER is doing a lot of work and talking to utilities every single day to get on their approval list. So, if your utility doesn't allow it today, that's not to say that they won't allow it in the future. And so, please make sure, like Kevin said, check out that dynamic list where your approvals are. And if you're getting pushback, reach out to Kevin. Say, hey, man,
Please do.
my utilities, I need some help. And Kevin will personally walk over to that utility from his home.
Or
I'm
fly.
just kidding. All right, let's keep going because we are starting to run out of time. So finally, let's talk about efficiency. So SolarEdge Nexis has a modular building block, and a lot of times with the pitfalls of modular systems is the ability to add one new battery into the stack. And we touched a little bit on it earlier from some of your guys' great questions. So the Nexus has what we call a battery DC to DC boost stage, and it takes the cell pack voltage and boosts it up to 400 volts. That's basically what a SolarEdge power optimizer is doing it. So you could kind of think of it kind of like a battery optimizer. And what this does for the system is that means we can stack new batteries in the existing stack without ruining the state of health. Additionally, where the magic really comes into play is that link, the Nexis link, because that is where our battery management system is. And it's constantly measuring the state of health reported by every single battery DC to DC boost stage. So, because we're measuring state of health, we can tell a single battery block, I want you to discharge more than these other two lower health battery blocks. And we can control that discharge. On top of that, what happens is now, instead of discharging the whole stack, each battery block at, let's say, 300 watts, we can tell one battery block to discharge at 900 watts, which will boost this system efficiency. What does higher efficiency mean? It means, again, you keep your lights on longer, you have more money sending to the utility, or offsetting your expensive energy when you're in a time of use rate. So it's a kind of a hidden secret in the industry. Battery efficiencies are very low at low power thresholds. You're not getting as much bang for your buck. And that's where we generally operate our batteries in maximized self consumption states where the sun is going down and we're just offsetting the amount of solar energy, or at nighttime when all of our loads are off and we're just operating at your state, your home's steady state volt or power, which is usually 500 to 1,000 watts. Batteries are very inefficient at those levels. So with the battery optimizer, we're keeping lights on longer and we're generating more money or savings value for the system owner. Any questions on that one, Daniela? No? All right. So,
Not on that one. Maybe the other thing, what about if the meter color is not approved? Because someone said like utility doesn't allow, but we do double meter socket when needed. So I don't think we really touched upon this possibility, but that might be good for the audience to know.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So that is an option doing the secondary meter enclosure. Just a simple standalone meter can will suffice. I have seen installers do it with the meter main. Sometimes they like the amount of space that those type of enclosures have. But that's going to be the solution to bring whole home or partial home backup to a Nexus system that's being installed in a utility zone that hasn't yet approved Nexis islander for behind the meter install.
that's right.
So that opens the aperture really for this to be installed anywhere in the United States.
Thank you for making that clear. Thank you.
Yeah. And speaking of which, being installed anywhere in the United States, Nexus is built for the extreme. We can install Nexus in -4 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 131 degrees Fahrenheit. So for low temperature weather, -4 region, there is, or excuse me, there are resistive heating mats inside the Nexus battery blocks. So when a battery cell is charging or discharging, it's generating heat and we don't need to do anything. But if a battery is sitting idle, then it's getting cold. And lithium iron phosphate or LFP batteries do not like to be cycled when they're cold. So when the temperature starts to drop down and the batteries are idle, we'll turn on that heating mat to keep the cells warm to make sure that the system owner will have a better experience when the system goes into backup. We don't have to wait for those cells to warm up and then start discharging. Additionally, we can now install up to 3,000 meters or 9,800 feet. So pretty much anywhere in the continental US. Colorado, I think there's a couple of places that are just a little bit above that.
Very small populations. Yeah, it's I think a total of maybe like 4,000 people in the United States live above 9,800 feet. So
Yeah.
small number.
So we can install Rocky Mountain Power. If you're in the Rockies, then great, we're there. And then the decorative covers, those white covers on the front of the Nexus system, is completely customizable. And what I love about the decorative covers is I've already had people showing me pictures of their cool customization. Some companies have been doing like laser etching for their company information on it, so they don't have to worry about labels. I've seen a couple people look at the Nexus and paint the decorative covers to match the outside of their house so they can comply with their HOAs. Or lastly, what I've even seen is somebody putting decals like for their favorite sports team on the Nexus to because it's in their garage and that's their quote unquote man cave. And they wanted the Nexus to be a part of their system, or excuse me, a part of their home, of their space, and include it, not just some box on the wall that they never talk to or interact with. So I really like the decorative covers, which brings me to kind of our closing statements, and I think we'll have one more poll.
I
But
would
go
I
ahead.
would like to get squeeze this one poll question in. We're coming up on time, so if we could make that happen, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So just real fast, America, made in America. Nexus is we manufacture in Texas, Florida, Utah. Everything is domestic content eligible and FIOC compliant. So made in America, doing American things. Fantastic. So last poll question.
Cameron, I'm going to jump in. An important question came just in, and I'd really like you to maybe say a few words about that. With the addition of the Nexus to SolarEdge's fleet, can we expect a higher level of installer support and technical troubleshooting from
Sure.
SolarEdge post installation? Can you share a little bit more? There have been different experiences in the past with challenges to get technical support.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually am in our call center in Roseville, California right now. So that's the office that I work out of in Northern California. We've to get more help and more agents online. We have taken our call center into other countries. So there's people answering the phone in India and people in California. We had Bulgaria at one point. I think we still have some call support out of Bulgaria helping the European regions. So yes, we have people, agents answering the phone. To help reduce call times, we've enacted features like AI to help us get some of those easy calls done, like what's my tracking number? What's my RMA status? Those types of questions. And that's going through AI to allow our techs to help with one call resolution. And so that just kind of low hanging fruit ease of getting information helps a lot with that. And then lastly, I always tell people if you don't want to wait on the phone, chat is a great way to get a hold of SolarEdge support. So you can, before you go to the job site, always chat us. Say, hey, I'm going to go to this job site. Can take a look at it before I go. And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, we automatically process that RMA for you. So here you go. You don't even have to go to the job site. So there's a lot of things you can do before you roll your truck, and then make sure that you're going for that one truck roll. And it may be, hey, I'm going to replace an inverter. I'm sorry that happened to you, but make sure you take the inverter with you, replace it, and then bring the old inverter back so you can ship it back to us, and then we'll replace your inventory. And so that way you're not rolling your truck multiple times. So know before you go monitoring, enhanced AI features to help those low-level calls, and then more agents answering phones.
Okay, thank you so much. That's really important, and also you can rely on your BayWa account manager. We can help and put you in touch as well. Yeah, so the poll is up. Thank you for casting your vote while we were talking about this important aspect. Looks like modularity, the Nexis Islander meter color are the top ranking options here, beneficial features.
Yeah,
Surprise?
absolutely. I knew modularity was important, but I'm surprised that there was no votes for 185 amps of LRA. So I'm really surprised about that. Less wall space, yes. Nexus is very energy dense. So I really like yeah, modularity is definitely the standout winner. So with that, I wanted to say thank you again so much. We recently did our Nexus Takeover Day. Oh, look, there's that picture of their favorite sports team on there. But one of the things that I hosted a panel, and there was a young man named Tate Abden on the panel discussion. And one of the things that he said really stood out to me is we're completing installs faster, using less conduit, reducing wall clutter, and delivering cleaner finished product just because of the design and the thought that went into Nexus. And I really liked that quote. So I wanted to share it with you guys. Daniela, Kevin, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking through Nexus.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, there's a question. Components are all available with BayWa. So if you go to the web store or reach out to your account manager, we can help you. We are looking forward to being in touch with you. Thank you also so much for being here. We could have probably gone another half hour at least to talk more. Please be in touch, everyone. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Kevin, for taking the time to share all the latest and greatest of the Nexus. You'll be getting the presentation, the recording, so keep an eye out. It's going to come through your email. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for your partnership.
Thank you.
Daniela, and thank you to BayWa. Thank you to SolarEdge, Cameron.
Cheers.
Thank you. I'll talk to you very soon. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.